Today's episode is all about perspective. First, we'll hear from a political science student, Helen, about how online activism shapes real-world policy conversation, what works, what doesn't, and where the gaps are. Then, we'll switch gears and talk with Maria, a business marketing major, about how climate posts function as content, how they're designed, why certain ones go viral, and what happens when activism meets branding. All right, so to get a better understanding of how all this stuff plays out in real life, not just online, I wanted to talk to someone who actually studies the political side of this stuff. So here I am with Helen, a political science major at UMass, who's really familiar with how social media shapes the public opinion and activism on campus. We are going to talk about what online climate activism looks like from a political perspective, what actually influences policy, and what most people get wrong when they rely on social media for climate information. So let's get into it. Hi, Helen. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm so happy to be here today on your podcast.
That's amazing. I wanted to ask you a couple questions.
Perfect. I'm all ears.
Okay, so from a political science standpoint, does social media actually help climate activism, or does it mostly create noise?
It does both. Social media is great for raising awareness fast, but it also spreads oversimplified information. Politicians notice trends, but they don't build policy from TikTok videos. Real political pressure comes from organized groups, voting blocks, and people showing up constantly, not just viral posts.
Okay, but do you think that reposting climate content counts as activism?
It counts as engagement, but not activism on its own. It helps visibility, but it doesn't change laws. I think a lot of people confuse the two because social media makes activism look easy.
That makes sense. But how do political actors like campaigns or corporations use climate messaging online?
They know climate content performs well, so they use it strategically. Some do it genuinely, but a lot of companies use climate language for branding or PR. Politically, parties use it to signal values to their base. This message is often tailored to get clicks, not to inform.
Okay. But do you think that social media actually motivates people to take real political action on climate issues?
Honestly, I think it depends. For some people, yeah, seeing climate content online might be the first time they've ever really thought about the issue, but motivation doesn't always turn into action. A lot of people stop at reposting something because it feels like they're helping, even though it doesn't pressure policymakers or even change laws. Real political action takes organization, voting, and showing up to meetings, or even calling in legislators. Things that the algorithm doesn't really hype up because they're not entertaining. Social media raises awareness, but it rarely pushes people towards the harder steps.
Okay. But this last question. How do political campaigns or politicians use social media to shape the climate conversation?
Politicians definitely use it strategically. Some use climate content to build a personal brand, like looking green without committing to real policy changes. Others rely on short emotional posts because they know that's what's going to get shared. But the problem is that climate policy is complex and social media oversimplifies it so much. So politicians can say that they support clean energy in a 15-second video, but not explain the trade-offs, funding, or even long-term planning behind it. And young voters walk away thinking the issue is simpler than it actually is.
Okay, thank you so much for talking with me today, Helen. Your insight into the political side of all of this really helped connect the dots. I appreciate you taking the time to break things down. All right, for this next part of the episode, I'm really excited because I'm bringing in someone who looks at social media from a totally different angle. I'm here with Maria, who's a business marketing major and spends a lot of time studying how online campaigns actually grab people's attention and motivate them to act. So since we're talking about climate activism and the way posts spread, especially big ones like Greta Thunberg's viral Instagram callouts, I thought it would be great to get her perspective. So Maria, thank you for being here. Let's get into it. Anyway, Maria, so from a marketing perspective, why do you think Greta Thunberg's posts get so much traction compared to other climate activism content?
So, I think it's because Greta has a really clear personal brand. She's direct and consistent, emotional, but without being dramatic. In marketing, that combination builds trust. People know what they're getting when they see her name. She also uses simple visuals and strong captions, which in my opinion perform way better than complicated infographics. And she basically turns the climate data into something human.
Okay, thank you so much. But how does the tone of Greta's posts impact engagement? A lot of her captions call out politicians or corporations pretty bluntly.
So I feel like bluntness actually works really well online. Controversy increases engagement because people want to react whether they agree or disagree. It doesn't mean she's doing it for clicks, but the marketing effect is like the same. Her tone cuts through the overly polished corporate style activism we see from like bigger organizations.
But like, if her posts are so effective, do they translate into real world action, or does it like stay online?
I'd say both, because posts that go viral usually create awareness first, and that's the marketing funnel. Awareness will create the interest, which will then create the action. Greta's posts are at the top of that funnel. They get people talking, but the conversion, I feel like the conversion depends on what happens next. Like if organizations create links, petitions, local events, whatever, her posts act as a spark, not the full fire.
Okay. So, but what's one thing everyday activists can learn from Greta's social media strategy?
I'd say like clarity, if that makes sense. A lot of activism posts are overloaded with text or
Statistics?
Yeah, statistics. Greta uses short captions, strong emotions, and she's super specific with her action calls. She keeps the message focused on like one idea at a time. And if activists copy that, like the one idea, like one feeling, one message, they probably see a much higher engagement.
Okay. But do you think that there's any downsides to posts like Greta's going super viral? So, but like from a marketing standpoint?
Yeah, definitely. Viral posts raise expectations. People start assuming every issue can be solved by a single viral moment, and that's just not realistic. Virality is unpredictable, and sometimes people pay more attention to the drama than the actual cause.
Okay.
There's also burnout. Like audiences get tired if everything feels like an emergency. So even good activism needs balance.
Okay, thank you so much. That really does a good
Yeah, of
perspective
course.
on that. All right, so that wraps up today's episode. Huge thank you to Helen and Maria for showing your insight. Seriously, hearing how marketing shapes the way we see climate activism adds a whole new layer to this conversation. It's easy to forget that behind every post or viral moment, there's a strategy, emotion, and a whole system influencing on how we react. Thank you for listening, and if you like this episode, make sure to tune in for next time as we break down more of the ways politics and social media shape the world around us. Until then, take care and keep paying good attention to what's influencing you.